This is Marketing Jam, a podcast featuring the brightest minds in Canadian marketing. Here's your host, Darian Kovacs.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Marketing Jam podcast and show. I want to welcome you here. Today we have a special guest, Jared Harman. Jared grew up in Delta, British Columbia, went to Vancouver College and then off to UBC. He then did a bunch of marketing in various sports entities, including the Langley Event Center here in our hometown of Langley, British Columbia. He's now the marketing director of the Joseph Richards Group, which we're going to be talking about today, and it is a privilege and an honor to have you here today, Jared. Thanks for joining us. Starting off, why don't you just tell us what you brought here today as a special little item for our show?
Yeah, we're about a week, maybe 2 weeks away from launching our first beer with the Joseph Richards Group, Two Pals Lager, so pretty excited about it. It's going to be available in all of our locations as well as our liquor stores, and currently working on getting it available in a few other arenas and forums as well. So,
okay,
yeah,
great. Well, why don't we crack one here for the
good.
show. Stay hydrated. It's important to stay hydrated, as my mother said. Well, cheers. Here, welcome to the show. Oh yeah, look at this. Two Pals Lager. Goes down easy. Yep. Deliciousness. And it's kind of, what is this? Would you call this a golden can?
It's a gold can. We spent a lot of time getting that as gold as we could. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
So starting off, tell me about your time at UBC and what you studied there and how it prepared you for the role that you have now in life.
Yeah, I mean, UBC was probably the funnest, if I'm being honest, 6-7 years of my life. It was a great time. I studied psychology. I put myself through university, so I was working full time throughout. So that's why I was there so long, amongst other reasons.
Yep.
It was. I always tell people it was a social experience. Okay. So it was. I don't utilize a lot of the education anymore, which maybe is a bad thing to admit, but it was, I was part of a fraternity when I was on campus. We did a lot of charitable work. We did a lot of social work as well in terms of, event planning, things like that. And I was able to get a lot of experience for 2 years. I was in charge of the house. So at 19, 20 years old, I was operating the house. We had a $2 million budget. Okay. I was dealing with all the finances, all those kind of things. So at a young age, get that experience. We were throwing parties. That's definitely a part of UBC. And but again, we were working with budgets, trying to generate revenue to pay for our operations. And then the charitable side, we did a ton of charity work. We did 24-hour relay, Easter Seals Regatta. We were volunteering in the Sun Run. So it just gave us and myself a lot of experience. And then the networking side of it, which is from a marketing angle, is everything. And I got to meet a lot of great people, and the first 2 or 3 jobs of my post university life were a direct result of being involved on campus and in the fraternity. So.
Wow. So to sum it up for students listening to the podcast or people going into school right now, what is some advice that you'd have as far as spending time in the classroom or outside the classroom?
I think the biggest thing when you're at university is just to get involved. Like there's definitely an educational element of being at university, and depending on what field you're going into, it may or may not be more important. But I had a lot of friends that went to university when there's about 45 of us from my grad class that went to UBC, and the difference in the people who got involved on campus, whether it was a fraternity, whether it was sports, whether it was the different clubs that are available, even just living on campus, getting involved made that experience a lot more fulfilling. So.
That's awesome. So in all your sports experience and all the stuff that you've had before you ended up at Joseph Richards Group, what are some of the most valuable things that you've learned from that, from doing sports marketing?
Sports, especially in this market, is a really tough sell. There's a lot of options. I remember I started in the BC Hockey League with the Langley Chiefs, and at the time, we count the numbers on how many amateur or pro teams were available to the market, and anywhere between 9 and 12 teams when you add up all the junior B, all the junior A, the major junior, and then obviously the NHL with the Canucks, and trying to convince people that your product is the best product and in some markets was a challenge. And so it really kind of taught me grassroots marketing and getting out into the community, the importance of relationships again, and having creating a strong bond and engagement level with your fan base to try to generate butts and seats was always the big thing. So yeah.
So now that you're at Joseph Richards Group, those that don't know it, it is the fastest growing hospitality brand in Western Canada, British Columbia. When you break it down, there's many brands within the Joseph Richards Group's family. Right. How would you describe what Joseph Richards Group is to the average person?
It's interesting because it's evolved a lot. I've known the company for a long time, since its beginning. in a lot of ways, it's very similar to the BC Hockey League for me. It's grassroots. It's in the community. Each one of our locations works extremely hard to connect with their community. You know, whether it's Oakenthorne here in Walnut Grove, trying to make sure that it's connected to just the Walnut Grove community and the Langley community, and that goes throughout all of our regions and areas. But as it's grown in some of the bigger brands like S&L Kitchen and Bars, it's a different concept. It's a little bit more higher end and but still trying to keep that community grassroots feel. So it's an interesting kind of game between all the brands and trying to capture and still keep that community feel. But I think that's what's made the company successful, is it's maintained its level, if you will, in terms of, you talk to Ryan and Andre, the two co-founders of the company, and they're the same guys they were 15 years ago before any of this existed, and they still have all the same connections and relationships with the people. Again, I keep coming back to relationships. To me, everything in every business is the relationships you keep and how well you look after those people that have helped you and supported you. So
cool. So how many establishments do you guys have now, and how many kid brands do you have under the parent brand of JRG?
We'll be up to 22 locations by the end of 2017. So,
Okay.
and that's 3 liquor stores. It'll be 4 restaurant concepts. So 3 S&L locations, and then 5 restaurant concepts. The Italian, which is our new Italian concept, opening up hopefully by the end of this year. And then Pseudo Asian Kitchen is opening up as well, either late this year or early next year. So, and then the rest are our public houses, and mostly in BC, mostly east of the Port Mann. Okay. We've got 2 in Coquitlam, and then we've also got 2 in Alberta as well.
Wow.
So,
what are the challenges that come along with managing multiple kid brands under a parent brand?
Always the struggle of differentiating between the parent brand and those sub brands, right? And with us, with our public houses, even so, just focusing on one element of the company, there's multiple brands, right? There's the Town Hall brand, which is really our flagship, and that's where it all started at Town Hall Langley. But then as that's evolved and we've gone into multiple locations in markets, again, Langley's a great example. We've got Town Hall Langley on and then we've got in Walnut Grove here, we've got Oakenthorne. So the menus are the same, and the concepts are very similar. Yeah. So it makes the branding a little bit easier. But as we move into the new location with Oakenthorne, the concept is evolving again, right? And it's going to be, it's still going to have those great lunch offerings and happy hour offerings and dinner offerings. What people have come accustomed to with our locations, but the late night energy and it's going to have that 2 a.m. license, and we're going to be able to do some really cool things late at night, and we're trying to make it interactive and have that kind of barcade feel where there's ping pong tables and bocce ball all inside the pub, and the ability to do live music and cool entertainment and things like that to really keep people engaged and just interested in what's going on, and it's going to go past 12 o'clock, which makes it a little bit more of a party scene as well. So
it's awesome.
Yeah.
So tell me what a typical day looks like, someone who manages a parent brand and sub-brands. Or is there a typical day?
Yeah, I don't know that there is. I mean, it's a lot of just dealing with everything, really. I don't know a better way to just thinking back to yesterday, we were talking about the beer and launching the beer and what that's going to look like, and that's not even to do with our pubs and our restaurants. And then tomorrow we're spending the majority of the day talking about the launch of the new Oakenthorne, and it's really just dealing with things as they come, and just for my team, it's making sure that we keep the brand as strong as we can and consistent. Like, I think consistency is important, and making sure you're always on top. And with nowadays with social media and all the digital stuff that we do, you can't sleep on it, really. You've got to make sure you're always paying attention to what the trends are, what everybody else is doing. You can't just post static images and hope that people are going to get engaged with your company and with your brand and what you're doing. So it's really just kind of read and react all the time, and then the other side of it is as we've grown and the company's gotten bigger, it's making sure we're still keeping in touch on a daily basis with all of the stores, right? It's from whether it's the Buccaneer in Richmond or Town Hall Abbotsford, and making sure that they have the support and the resources that they need to be successful. And because a lot of what we do and we generate from head office is dependent on the operators in the stores to execute. So we need to make sure that they're set up to succeed. Okay.
So what kind of team do you have? What does that look like for running such an operation?
Yeah, right now there's 2 or 3 of us. So myself, Jessica Weiser, who manages all of our digital media, she's been with the company since just about day one, and she's she's fantastic. So she handles all of our email marketing, all of our social media, all of our text message marketing, and she actually also deals with our guest relations.
Okay.
And her level of organization requires a certain attention to detail that most people don't have. Yeah. She's great at what she does. And then we contract out some of the other resources. So Matt Bork is kind of on board with our team as a photographer and videographer a bit. We've used House Hippo Media. We've a lot of different, again, in relationships. It's people that we've gotten to know over the years, and been able to form, an understanding with, in terms of not just they understand our business, what we're trying to do and our brand, and we're just set up in a way that we can just bring them in as needed to develop. We're currently expanding a little bit, bringing in some additional support just again as we grow, right? And in terms of our next steps, we're launching retail products, the beer. We're launching a wine in the next 6 months probably, and so those brands on their own are going to require their own support as well. So,
So speaking about hospitality marketing. Those of you that are watching, there's going to be links in the show notes and link in the YouTube channel, but the recent video that Burger King put out about the Junior Whopper, you've seen it?
Yep.
What did you think about it? What was your opinion about what they did there?
I mean, definitely, I think for anybody who, went to high school, which is everybody, it probably tugs on the emotions a little bit. I think my response to you when you sent the link was lots of emotion there, and most people probably were on one side or the other of that equation at some point in their life, and it's interesting because very little product involved. Like if you're watching that, you're not even really thinking it's a Burger King commercial, and a lot of companies have started to play with people's like bigger topics, whether political, socio issues to get people engaged with what they're doing. Which is smart, because I mean, you look at that commercial and we're sitting here talking about today, and I don't think we'd be talking about a Burger King commercial if we're talking about the Whopper or something like that. So it's smart, but I also think it's a little bit dangerous, because that one was done quite well, I thought, but you can go the other way just as easily and get into a situation where you're offending people. I can't remember if it was Burger King or if it was Wendy's with their social media, where they were getting really engaged in a similar kind of idea. They were really off the cuff and not kind of following what a lot of people would suggest are company standards and things like that in terms of their responses to people on social media. But it's hard to argue with the results, because it just, the traction it generated for them was impressive. So I don't know, it's the social awareness that it raises is great, but it's, like I said, it's risky for any brand, and I think you have to be have to have a certain comfort level with your brand to do that.
Okay.
So
make sure you take a watch. It's interesting just the way that Burger King has not only been able to promote anti-bullying, but also promote their Whopper in the same way, in a very emotionally gripping style.
Yeah, you've got to. I think the link that you sent me was 2 or 3 minutes, and not a lot of times you watch a whole video through, but for me, you're watching it, kind of wondering how it's going to play out, and like what those people are going to say, and I don't, other than the guy smashing the burger, I don't remember anything to do with the Burger King product really. So which is interesting when you think about, you invest all that time, energy, money in a commercial like that and not mention your product really once. But again, the results kind of speak for themselves. So.
So speaking of corporate social responsibility, Burger King trying to raise awareness about an issue, tell me some of the things that you're doing at the JRG group to raise awareness about some charities. And
Right. Right now the biggest thing is the JRG Sleep Out. So last year, Covenant House here in Vancouver, they have a few variations of this event, but they do an annual Sleep Out event to raise awareness for troubled youth who don't have a place to sleep or a place to live. And last year, Ryan Moreno, our CEO, and Chef Matthew Stowe, who's our Director of Culinary Operations, took part. It was a great event. Last year we raised, I think, about $37,000 for the charity, and the whole goal is to provide more resources for these youth. It really, moved Ryan and Matt. Actually, we were talking about last night where Ryan was saying that it really didn't hit him till afterwards, and they were talking about it afterwards and imagining, having to sleep out on the streets all night and then go apply for a job. It's like you've barely slept. You feel obviously disheveled, and now you've got to go and try to get your life together and take that next step. And so Ryan, with the help of Covenant House, kind of came up with the idea with all the staff that we have, and that event is really heavily focused in Vancouver. And one of the things that as people from Vancouver have been moving out towards Langley and the Fraser Valley, the homeless situation has really started to impact our communities. And so Ryan came up with the idea of hosting our own version of the Sleep Out to support Covenant House and trying to get our staff engaged, and not just to raise money, but just to raise awareness, because I don't think, like growing up working in, pubs and restaurants, it's just not something you're thinking about. You're thinking about what you're doing Friday night and things like that. So to generate a little bit more awareness for it, and so we're sleeping out at 3 of our locations. So we're sleeping out at Town Hall Maple Ridge, the New Oakenthorne, and then SNL South Surrey. So far we've got about 70 people signed up within the company, and we've already raised about $34,000. And then to encourage donations, we're actually giving, for every $50 donated, we're giving $25 GCs. Gift cards for Joseph Richard Group. So it's a pretty cool initiative. Beyond that, we do a ton in the charity. One of the programs we're trying to launch next is the Jared G Local Heroes program. So really just a give back to the people who do so much in our community, volunteer coaches, teachers, firefighters, first responders, people who are just constantly giving back to the community. And so we're just working out the details of how we're going to roll that out right now. But again, really the idea is just to not reward, but just thank you to the people who do so much for us. And then a program we launched last year, which we don't talk about too much, but we call it the Jared G RAK program, which is the Random Acts of Kindness. So a lot of times when guests come into our locations, they've been dealing with hardships or different stories, and especially over the holiday season, lots going on, and sometimes it's harder for some than others. Where we actually, and a lot of times people utilize our staff as sounding boards and to discuss those issues. And so what we've set up is a program where when our staff comes across someone who's going through a hard time or maybe just needs a little pick-me-up, what we do is we take care of their bill, and then we give them the opportunity to take whatever the amount of the bill and donate it to a charity of their choice. It just is we call it a random act of kindness, just something to kind of give back. We don't publicize it or talk about it too much, like I said, but it's just something to give back in the community. And then finally, we have our big Community Day event coming up on December 2nd. So every year we do a big Community Day where we go out and we engage other local businesses to provide donations. And by donations, I mean, like a gift card or something along those lines that we can auction off. And each of our stores picks a local charity, like in their market. So like the food bank in the market, or Boys and Girls Club, things like that. And then we give partial proceeds to what we're selling that day back to that charity. And I think last year we raised about $30,000 or $40,000 for that as well. So between the company, so there's typically not a month that goes by that we're not trying to do something to give back to the community. And obviously this time of year, a little bit more focused than others. So.
And why? Why CSR? Why should other restaurants and hospitality groups be thinking about this?
It's important. I mean, the community's everything for our business. I mean, if to be in a position to have 22 locations and for people to want to come in and buy, purchase your food and your drinks and all those kind of things. Like without that community, that business doesn't exist. I don't think it's just restaurants. I think it's any business. So I think giving back is a crucial part of that, and to be as supportive as you can be to the community that supports you.
So I want to thank viewers like you. This show is not only brought to you by viewers like you, but also our friends at Cyber Impact. You know about MailChimp, you know about some other alternatives that are based in America, but Cyber Impact is the Canadian option for email marketing. Thank you for supporting the show. And also, Dash This. If you want to correlate, get all your data, all your information about all your social media, all your marketing efforts into one dashboard, the folks at Dash This have the dashboard for you. Traditional marketing. Are you guys doing anything with billboards, newspapers, radio, TV?
Radio a little bit.
Okay.
TV we've never really engaged in too much. Digital seems to be where we just get the most traction from the digital side. The radio from a branding standpoint and Vancouver these days, driving anywhere, you're in your car longer and longer these days, it seems. So the radio side definitely has an impact for us. We've had some really good campaigns that we've ran. We've got a campaign coming up with TSN Radio and Sportsnet Radio as well. It's a good demographic for our new Oakenthorne location and for the beer. But we've had great partnerships in the past with JR FM as well, but traditionally we've done a little bit of editorial or advertorial work with some of the local papers, and with newspapers in particular, I've always found that it's the editorial stuff that works. It's like, the newspaper people will get mad at me, but purchasing that full page ad that's just a graphic, it just doesn't have that same impact. People want to read stories and understand why they should support you, right? They want to hear about the community work, or they want to hear about we're very fortunate to have a great culinary team, and they want to know why they want to try that new dish at Town Hall or SNL. I think but you can't really communicate that in an ad, right? Where if you have someone telling the story, it allows the guest to engage a lot more and become a little bit more interested in what we're doing. So
that's smart. And how do you measure the impact of an advertorial or the radio? How do you measure those two in particular?
Both are hard because the newspaper, if depending on the setup, you could actually attach something to bring in, but I think there's just an element of brand awareness that you need to create with those things, and for any business trying to when you're setting budgets for what you're going to do in those areas, understanding that some of it you're never going to be able to track, dollar for dollar in and out, which is part of the beauty of the digital stuff, is that you get a better idea of what the numbers say and what they're doing for you, but it's more just a brand awareness exercise and making people familiar with who you are and what you're doing. And the same with the TV side, we don't do any advertising on TV, but we do work with CTV and Global TV to get our team on there, and trying to discuss whether it's not even always just our restaurants, just what I think the last segment we did with Global TV and CTV both was how to make use of Thanksgiving leftovers. And we're not offering Thanksgiving leftovers left in our stores, but it's just saying hey, we've got some great chefs on our team who know a lot more than I do about what to do with turkey leftovers and whatnot, and we're going to put that out there. And again, it's just people are going to see Chef Stowe or Chef George on TV talking about that, and just see the logo on their chef jacket, or and start to familiarize themselves with our brand. So there's just anytime you can put your brand in front of people, there's value in that.
That's smart. And tell me about what you're doing when it comes to digital. You mentioned it, and what are you excited about, and what are you seeing?
With digital, right now, the one thing we've tried to really engage our staff with is Instagram and stories. We went through a time where we've got so much going on, and we're just trying to get everything out through Instagram. And, the posters for whatever events we're hosting and whatnot.
And you're keeping it all through GRG, right? Every brand.
No, we on Instagram we have our main kind of corporate brand, which is our GRG account. And then we have a Public House brand, an SNL brand, and then we will have an Italian brand that's out there now actually, and Two Pals again has its own brand. And going back to one of your original questions, that it definitely is a challenge because they're all very different in terms of the look and the feel, and how we set up each account, and it's and again, a lot of credit to our graphic team and Kildout and Jessica, who I mentioned before, in terms of keeping that all organized and going. With our pub brand, we're trying to be a lot more fun and upbeat, and really trying to hit that 19 to 35 demographic.
And doing lots of stories. And
exactly.
And you give the power to the people that do their own stories.
We do. Well, we've just started that in the last month or two, because again, it's similar to the Burger King thing, where you have that hesitation. You're going to give a bunch of part-time employees just access to your brand. As soon as you hand over that password, you can't take it back, right? So and you go through that kind of can we do this kind of moment, and then you realize you need to, because it's I always joke with our team, I've got 2 kids at home, and I'm not cool anymore. I'm not I don't know what a 25-year-old wants to do on the weekend. But our staff does. And they you look at if you were to go through all of our staff pages, you'd see all of them got thousands of followers and things like that. And it's so they know what people want to see, and they've got people following them and that's only going to help our business. And so we've, in the last probably month, we've started to work with, like, identify key people in the stores who are engaged in our brand and are passionate about our brand and are showing an interest in doing more and trying to take them under our wing a little bit. And so giving them that opportunity and working with them to say, okay, like, on a Friday night when you're here and this is happening, like, what are you seeing? You think if they think that's cool, then here's, post that to this account, and we're seeing a lot of traction that way. And it's because that's what people want. It's with digital media, it's instant gratification, right? They don't want to see like a post all the time about what's happening next week. They want to see what's going on right now. Like, maybe I'll come there, right? And if they see a post and the party's looks like it's going off and people are having a great time, then they want to be a part of that, right? So, yeah.
And if you were at, like, all the social channels that are out there and digital opportunities, how would you maybe rank them as far as, like, the important ones for your JRG brands?
Yeah, that's tough. Instagram for us right now is probably the key in terms of, like, where a lot of our focus is. Our email marketing is really strong. Okay. Because we have a really dedicated group of guests, like, really loyal. They're very loyal to our brands, and we see a lot of traction with what we do with our email marketing. And it's one of those ones, again, where you can actually generate reports and see who's paying attention to what you're doing. But we ran a Halloween night is typically a slower night, just because people are out with their kids and doing whatever. So we ran a few promotions where it was like a free appetizer at a couple of our locations with the purchase of a couple entrees, and you track that and see the results. And so we get a lot of traction there. So I'd say Instagram, email marketing. Facebook's still quite strong for us, just because it's really the only localized version that we have. Like, we don't have Instagram or Twitter accounts for Oakenthorne on its own or Town Hall Langley on its own. Whereas we have Facebook pages. So again, that dedicated following to paying attention to what we're doing. And then for us in the hospitality business, it's paying attention to things like OpenTable and Google and Yelp and the reviews that we get there, and making sure that we're paying attention to what people are saying about us, interacting with them. If someone's had a poor experience, and making sure that we're working with them to make it right. And if someone's had a good experience, making sure not only do we say thanks for coming in to them, but also let our staff know. Like, that's a big thing too. And like, hey, thanks. Like, we're getting, we go through a thing where every month we send out the reviews to all of our teams and our Google ratings. And it's important for them to know, like, if you're getting 4.6 out of 5, you guys are doing a good job, and that's it keeps them motivated and excited about what they have going on as well.
Okay, so looking at the map right now, so there's TripAdvisor, there's Yelp, and there's Google Places. Who do you think is going to win it out in the end, or what do you see the difference between them? Types of people, types of users.
We don't spend a lot of time on TripAdvisor.
Yeah, so it's like more of a tourist attraction, international visitors.
Yeah. Yelp seems to be the same group of people.
Okay.
It seems to be like, at least for us, it doesn't seem like we don't seem to generate new guests there, or at least new reviews. So if you were to, like, actually do an analysis of the people we're talking to on a regular basis there, it's almost, it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. Like, they're loyal, they're coming back, they're talking to us through there. Google seems to be where we get the most new interactions. Okay. So. Yeah.
One of the questions generated from someone who heard you were coming on the show was the whole world of influencers and foodie bloggers. It can be overwhelming and can become confusing. Who do you work with? Who do you not work with? Do you offer free stuff to them? Do you pay them to come in? How have you kind of solved that, or what are you doing to figure out that world at the moment?
Again, just trying to build relationships. We definitely use them. We definitely reach out to them. We definitely want to work with them. And it's not just ones that you would think would fit our brand. It's everybody. I mean, it's a great marketing tool right now, and it's. I personally, I'm not a huge fan of paying for it. I think if we can offer a good product and a good experience and a shared opportunity, if you will, like to come in and experience our environment, we can help grow their brand, and hopefully they can help grow ours. And there's a lot of them out there, and they all have really positive aspects about what they're offering from what we've seen, and we've had some really successful from events to just individual nights out where they've come in and had a chance to experience it. So we definitely, and again, like the Two Pals is another area where we're looking at really utilizing that network of people to help grow this brand and put it on the radar for people.
That's cool. So tell me right now, like you've got two owners, like two pals,
Yep. Yeah,
right?
two pals, exactly.
They're buddies.
Yeah.
How do you, as their marketing director, report to them what you're doing and that maybe the success of what you're doing, or maybe where you're seeing issues, and like, is it multiple reports? Is it one report? Is it one dashboard, or what do you use to give them the data?
Honestly, it's one of the great things about the company. I mean, we just meet. Like it's kind of old school that way. And like last night, again, like I was saying before, we were talking about two pals. We went at SNL like late last night and just kind of sat there and brainstormed and just we kind of have our list. It's kind of funny as I think about it. I never really have. But it's kind of old, archaic in a way. We create our list. Like these are the things we're working on, and we just kind of roll through them and and it's. Again, one of the great things about the company is it's really open dialogue. Like there's no bad ideas. I know it's a really cheesy thing to say, but it's for me coming in when the company was 5-6 years old, you would just expect that there's just this pattern and process that everybody kind of works with, and there is for sure. Like there's infrastructure, but there's, like I said, there's just no bad ideas. It's a real, even if we were sitting around last night talking about it, and as we were at SNL Langley, and some of the staff were getting off, and we said, hey, try it. This is the beer. Like, try it. What do you think? How would you tell your friends about it? And like, this is just, the bartender just happened to be on, and the server just happened to be working that night, and there's really that. I think everybody's aware that in that business, you need. Like it's not just my ideas that are going to work, or Ryan's or Andre's. And like they're just, like I said, a willingness to discuss that with everybody. So as far as like a reporting thing, Ryan's the principal and the CEO, so he's the day-to-day guy that we work with on a day. Like I meet with Ryan once a week and just kind of we discuss upcoming projects and what we've worked on and how those things are going. Andre focuses on Andre's big focus right now is the new Oakenthorne. So it's individual projects as they come up. Andre focuses on those, and then just kind of, again, for me, it's just providing support where he needs it and resources where he needs it from a marketing standpoint. And so, but like I said, it's honestly, it's like a group of friends.
Maybe for you, maybe in the last month, what's something that you saw marketing-wise that got you really excited, that you tried something and it was like, wow, that was really great, or something that you were like, hey, you knew it was going to be a win and you were right?
Honestly, I think the Instagram stories and just the engagement we've gotten, just getting, because the net benefit for the company is not just the traction on social media. It's the seeing the staff get more engaged in the business. It's letting them feel like they've got a part of it too, and it's not just showing up and serving tables or whatever their role is within that store. It's like, we talked to some of the staff with Oakenthorne opening and asked them, say, hey, would you be willing to go in there during construction, take some pictures and do some of those kinds of things, and they just get really like, oh, like you want me to be involved in that? Like that's cool. And I think so. It's kind of got it's a double-sided win, if you will, right? Where you're getting more out of it. People are getting more interested in the business and getting more support that way. And then likewise, like I said, the staff are like all fired up and want to do more. And then the sleep, the community stuff has always been a big thing for me. So just seeing the reaction of the staff, like, I mean, sleeping out in a parking lot for 8 hours is not super exciting, but to see a bunch of people rally behind it and get behind it, and even just the support that we've got from like businesses like yourself. Like I know you guys donated as well, thank you. And but just seeing everybody rally behind the company and the amount of dollars we're able to raise in just a short time, and it's really cool. So.
Maybe biggest maybe mistake or failure that happened in the last while and that you learned from and other people could learn from?
Biggest mistake. I don't know if it's so much related to marketing, but it's just not empowering the people around you. Like it's really easy to get caught up in just doing what you want to do or what I want to do or whatever, and the value of teamwork and the two heads are better than one kind of thing, and especially in what's the one thing I've learned so much over the years in marketing is that, like when I started, when I was 23, 24 years old working for the hockey team, I thought I knew better than everybody, and you learn really fast that you don't. And so, and like I said, especially now, like the older I get and the younger like that demographic is for our business, you need support. You need people to be involved with you, and it needs to be like as many people as you can pulling the chain, so to speak, because it's the only way you'll have success. So,
iPhone or Android user?
iPhone, only recently though.
Okay, really?
I
You
was,
made the
I was
switch.
like a full-on like PC, Samsung, like guy and then I came over to Joe's, and everybody at the restaurant, like I was like one of 3 people not on Mac.
Okay.
And so I went all in, laptop,
Okay.
like desktop
Yeah.
and phone and everything. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your top 3 apps that you use on a regular basis on your iPhone?
I don't know if they're really considered the apps as much as they're just things, but Instagram, Bleacher Report for my sports news.
Okay.
I don't know. That really might be Twitter. I still love Twitter. Like
Okay.
Twitter's my news source.
Yeah.
So it's like where like at midnight where I finally get into bed, I'm just trying to figure out what happened today. So
Okay.
yeah.
So, and being a parent with little children, have you learned anything from your children about marketing that they've taught you?
I learned that they're going to be way smarter than I ever can imagine to be when it comes to just electronics and technology. So they like this marketing probably not so much, but just it's just such a different world than what we grew up in. And like my 4-year-old daughter, she's like she can work on an iPhone better than me.
Yeah.
So it's it's just seamless. And a lot of parents are reluctant about that, but we don't give them a lot of screen time. At the same time, I don't want them to get left behind, and I think it's going to be an important part of their future. So, yeah.
Okay. And your job in 10 years, you know, what you're doing now, what do you think will be the biggest difference that you're going to see as far as what your role is and what outlets you're going to be using for marketing?
I don't even know that you can predict that.
Okay.
I mean, compared to what we were doing 10 years ago, like again, a different industry, but I don't know. I mean, it's hard because I think things will revert a little bit when it comes to hospitality, because I think you see it a little bit now, like that personal touch and like face-to-face interaction that seemed to go away a little bit in the last 10 years. People are starting to value that again, and I think which I think sets Joseph Richard Group up well, because I think there's still so much of that interaction and kind of grassroots connection that I think people are going to want more of that. They're going to want to know the person that they're going to want to support the person that they know, and not just the person that told them to support them on social media or whatever the case may be. But I mean, in terms of, I don't know, people are going to have chips in them and saying, go eat there. Who knows? But it's, I think that it's pretty hard to predict that.
Well, everyone, this was Jared Harman, Joseph Richards Group. Really appreciate you being on the show, sharing so much about what you're dealing with, what your life looks like. I'm sure there were some great nuggets there for you. All the links about Joseph Richards Group are in the show notes and on the YouTube links below and on Facebook here. So thank you so much for watching, listening, and we look forward to seeing you at the next Marketing Jam.